Yo, 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 welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I'm your host and super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. And today, episode 48, which is great because we're 2 episodes away from 50. I'm excited to get to 50 just because it's a nice milestone number. And if you didn't know, this year I am trying to grow this podcast. And the best way I can do that is with the help of you. Already, you listening to this helps. It goes a million miles. I really do appreciate it. But if you feel like there's an episode that you think will resonate with someone else or was of great value, then please go ahead and share it. That would mean the world to me. And I would greatly appreciate it in advance. So today, I want to ask you a big question. That is, when was the last time that you caught yourself or found yourself, I guess, scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, social media of any sorts, and you were comparing? You were comparing yourself around, your current position to their position, your progress to their progress. You're looking at differences. You're seeing how they make things look so easy, or maybe you're even feeling a little jealous, and you can sometimes find yourself feeling a little toxic against them as well. Well, look, I'm going to be the first one to admit it, but we do this far too often. And I think, for me, especially a good example is like when we refer to YouTubers. I'm a YouTuber, right? My personal channel, and you're seeing people come into the space and all of a sudden they're hitting crazy numbers. They're getting all the followers, they're getting all the views, and the numbers are just going up, booming up, skyrocketing. Whereas me, I'm chugging away and I feel like I'm getting nowhere when it comes to a comparison to them. And, I'm not getting their views, I'm not getting the same video, I guess reactions or comments or likes and all that jazz. It feels unfair, right? Well, yes and no, right? It's not fair of you to compare yourself to them. I don't think it's fair, and we shouldn't be doing it. And as I said before, I put my hand up first and say that I do this all the time, but unless they started at the same time as you, at the same starting line as you, with the same experience, the same knowledge, skills, understanding, then it's not fair to compare. Because you see, we look at others and we tend to just jump straight to judgment, and we jump to all these ideals, we jump to this conjecture, and we don't actually know that much, right? Like how much do we actually know about them, what they're about, what they've done, their past and all that jazz. However, we tend to come up with all these ideas that, maybe it was given to them, or maybe they got lucky, or this or that. And we make all these excuses and we try and justify ourselves, or we also bring ourselves to a higher level by trying to bring them down because we think, obviously they got this. We're trying to justify that it's not worth comparing because we're saying, well, they got lucky, or they got this, or they got that, when that's not really the case, right? Look, there's going to be circumstances that puts them ahead, but to go ahead and just to think that they were given it to on a silver platter or things like that, that's not really the way to go about it. Regardless, it shouldn't really matter whether they got it given to them or they've worked harder than you to get it. Because at the end of the day, and this is where it comes to, I think it is fair, if you do want to compare, you need to give yourself something worthy of comparing to, and has to be relevant. It has to be relevant and worthy of a compare. And the only answer to this is yourself, right? And you got to hear me out. You need to humor me a bit here, but I think if you pick something that you are always comparing, whether it's, I'm going to talk some relevant things to myself and just things that are in my own ecosystem, but it could be YouTube, it could be socials, it could be money, it could be investments, it could be NFTs, it could be your body, it could be your weight, it could be running, it could be anything. What is it? Think of something. Now that you've picked one, do this for me. Think about your current situation that you're in. Everything where you are at the moment, your status, what you've got, what you've been progressing in, when you did some exercise last, or what you've been eating, or how much money you've made, or all this jazz. Think about, depending on what you just picked, your current situation today based on that thing that you picked. Now, if we jump back a day, are you better or worse today than you were yesterday? In that area, are you progressing? Are you progressing? Are you doing a little bit better? Or maybe you're the same. It's been one day. What about a week ago? What about a month ago? What about 90 days or 3 months ago? What about 6 months? Where were you 6 months on this journey of whatever it is that you're thinking about? What about a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago? What about 10 years ago when you bring this into perspective, right? And you can even go further, right, if you want to, but you get my point, right? If you reflect back and you compare yourself to see how far you've come or haven't, right? And this is where you need to start to ask yourself some of the real tough questions. Have you changed? Have you grown? Have you made movements or some movements in the direction of where you're wanting to go? Now, if you have, that's great. That's awesome, right? Now start to understand and see, okay, you are progressing. You have changed. You have grown, and see the differences, right? And you can now start to reapply some of that mentality for a forward-looking view. You see, I mean, look, I want to tell you a story. I mean, crazy enough, and this blows my mind when I think about it now. I have a good giggle, I have a good laugh, but I think, how could I have been so stupid thinking this or asking this? But let me explain. So when I first started running, I'm going back, must be about 8 years now. I kid you not. I remember Googling, is it okay to run 2 5 kilometers or 2 5K runs in a single day? Like, seriously, now that I think about this, I'm like, how? Of course you can. I mean, people are running 10K, people are running 20K, people are running marathons. And here I am thinking, oh, is it okay? Like, will it be an issue? Is it safe to run 2 runs in a day or 5Ks in a day? And I'm thinking now, I look at this and I'm like, how could I be so stupid? Like, of course people can do it, but people run marathons all the time and people run ultras. Heck, that's what I can do. But back then, you see, I couldn't fathom running anything more than 5 to 7 kilometers. At the time, I was thinking about doing my first 10K, and that was a big deal. It was like going to be my biggest run ever. Well, it was. And at the time, I couldn't even understand a marathon. And looking back at this, it's comparing to where I am now, it's to see how far I've come and my ability to be able to show up and get these runs done and run again the day after, or do 2 runs in one day. It's crazy to think about it. But I use this and I remember and reflect on this because it helps me remind myself how far I've come just from knowledge, understanding, experience, confidence, and my ability to continue to progress forwards in my running journey. And it's also very amazing to see how you can grow, how you can learn, and how you can adapt and become a better version of yourself. So my urge to you is this. It's quite simple. You need to stop worrying about what others are doing, how far they are they better, are they worse, or if they have something that you don't. You need to do you. You do you. That's all you need to worry about. Worry about being a better version of you today, so tomorrow you can be leveling up or doing exactly the same thing in terms of working on a better version of yourself. The best time to start is today, of trying to be a better person tomorrow. And you are the baseline. Each day is a new baseline, but you are the baseline that you can compare to. Don't go leveraging and using other people as a foundation or a baseline to compare to, because there's a whole lot of context there that you cannot understand, you don't know all the circumstances. And like I said, some people might be born into this, or they might just naturally be good at things, which is okay. You're naturally good at things too, which they won't be good at, but you just don't know that that's what you're good at compared to them, right? Because you're only comparing yourself to one part of their life. Okay, you get my point. You need to be the foundation if you want to be building a better you. And start with 1%. Start from, what you've been reflecting on over the last 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and see how you can progress from there. And of course, if you're struggling with this and maybe you're confused and maybe you're a bit overwhelmed and it's all a bit too much, let's have a chat. Let's chat about it. You can reach out on the different platforms. I'm on Twitter at Further Your Life. You can reach out on Instagram, drop me a DM at Further Your Lifestyle. Otherwise, drop me an email at hello@furtheryourlifestyle.com. More than happy to continue the conversation and help you, work through this or whatever it may be. But I urge you, if it's coming to comparing, start with comparing to yourself. Use those metrics that I just mentioned, on a weekly, monthly, daily, couple of years, reflect back on those and just actually see how far you've come. And don't just do it as a whole generic, do it as actual areas in your life. If you're doing YouTube, where were you a year ago when you did YouTube? If you haven't started YouTube, well, there you go. You've got a baseline to just start from zero. But you get my point. I hope you get my point. Anyway, really do appreciate you being here. If you've enjoyed this, let me know, reach out. Let's continue the conversation, as I said before. And it's been great being able to have this conversation. And I am trying to really, really push myself to help others, right? And I cannot urge enough of how important I feel like this is, because once you, and I'm not saying that I've got it perfect, by all means, no, but once you can start to focus on you and not focus on what other people are doing and focusing on what they think about you or how further they are, well, it's going to be very hard to further your own lifestyle. But once you can start to get rid of those things, remove the compare, remove the worry of what others think, then you will be able to further your lifestyle so much easier. And that is the big takeaway for this episode. Go get it. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.